Hey, what's up guys, Mashine here, come back with a brand new video for you guys. We've got a large one today. We're going to be talking about the full in-depth analysis between Stockholm versus Antwerp, and we're going to be talking about mainly opening up the capsule today, the return you can expect to get, and comparing that, which is Stockholm post-sale versus Antwerp pre-sale. But before we hop on into that one, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor today, D-Market. Today's video is sponsored by D-Market. Now, if you don't know what D-Market is, they're pretty much the all-inclusive CSGO website. You're able to buy, sell, exchange, even instant sell your items for some money that you can receive very quickly. Now, when you're looking to buy CSGO skins, there's two main things you have to check out. First is best deals. Best deals is going to be the best deals on the market, obviously. And then the other one is best discount. These are going to be the highly discounted items that are currently available, and some of which, when you click the box, are going to be coming up as the best price on the entire internet. Other than that, I highly suggest you check out their instant sell feature. It's the one I personally use. They've got the best rates out there, plus easy way to get out your money. And I want to thank D-Market so much for sponsoring this video. Let's hop on into it. Now, this one's got a lot of information to cover. We're going to be going over everything to do with Stockholm first, and then we're going to be comparing it to Antwerp. Speaking of Stockholm, starting off with the Legends capsule here. Now, I want to give you a brief rundown on how everything works. I've got every single price inputted off the Steam community market that I manually typed in. One major thing you need to note is these are the listing price. We're not talking about buy order prices here, so there is going to be a little disparity between the buy order price and the actual price that's on here. Another big thing is there's no community fees taken out other than at the 3-cent mark. Now, for everything that was 3 cents originally, I marked it down to 1 cent because these were playing the biggest factor in the overall percentage return, speaking of all values. I didn't want to take out a 13% flat fee because obviously that doesn't work as efficiently with those low value numbers. But for the Stockholm Legends capsule here, you can see that there is a pretty significant amount of data. If you're interested in it, the expected odds are your expected odds. The multiplied is just multiplying the price by the expected odds. And that last category is what the actual value is that's going to be added. So talking about the Stockholm Legends capsule here, we can see there is about a 59.2% return, which relatively speaking is probably going to be just around average for what we're going to be going over today. It's not necessarily good, but about 59% when we head over to case return here, we can see that that's just slightly above what I'd say was around the middle. So it's not a terrible return, but honestly, for something that's not having a huge upside like the capsule here, I'd expect slightly higher, but at the same time, the capsule is only $1. After that, moving on into our contenders capsule here with a price point of 73 cents to open, and you're going to be getting around 50.8 cents back on return. You're going to be looking at a 69.66% return, which is extremely good compared to what we just showed with that case unboxing number. So you can see right here, it is above every single case unboxing return percentage, which is significantly better than anything you could open really in CSGO other than those dollar capsules. After that, we've got the Challenger's capsule, which is probably the most notable Stockholm capsule, if I do say so myself. I mean, honestly, that mouse has really made a name for the Challengers capsule here, but if we were looking at its percentage return, it's only 52.2. And when we head back over to that sheet, you can see here that that's quite low ranking compared to the cases. Now, this is pretty much to be expected as it is the most expensive capsule. After that, then we've got the Champions autograph capsule. Now, these autograph ones were a pain to do. It was really frustrating and a lot of tedious effort that had to be put in. And honestly, in the case of the Champions capsule, it was not worth it. At a price point of 37 cents, which is extremely low, you're only getting a 37.1% return, which is absolutely terrible. Finally then, our last Stockholm capsule here is the finalist autograph. Now, this one was also a pain, 35 different autographs that I had to be put in, but coming in at a 47.75% return, I would say that's also really poor, worse than the Challengers, and honestly, it's really low. Now, we are going to get what this data means in just a quick second, but I'm going to rapid fire these three Antwerp ones. First up here, we got the Contenders, which is the worst of the three, coming in at 58.4 percentage points. Now, I'm going to do these Antwerp ones quickly because they don't really matter too much because they're pre-sale. After that one, we've got the Antwerp Legends coming in at 60.5%. And then finally, we've got the Antwerp Challengers, which is coming in at a staggering 76.35%, which is a really good return, especially better than a lot of these. That's double the return you'd get on the Stockholm Champions. Obviously, this one is the least unboxed out of the three, so it does make sense, but we're going to get to that data analysis, talking what it means in just a second. I'm going to have that spreadsheet linked down in the description if you're interested to take a look. It does have a lot of great data if you're looking to potentially invest into Stockholm here, but that's mainly what we're going to be talking about today, is if Stockholm's a good investment compared to where Antwerp is sitting at. Now, when we look at these odds, there's obviously some that I could really rule out investing into, and that's the 2 autograph ones. This means that there's probably going to be way too much supply compared to the demand when we're talking about the Antwerp autographs here, because if the Stockholm ones really were oversaturated, odds are that the Antwerp ones are most likely going to be in a very similar situation. Now, there is some exceptions to be made here. Obviously, this is a vast generalization, and we don't know anything specific about the data after the amounts and after the sale has come. But in this case, I would definitely say that's a pretty safe bet moving forward, that there's probably going to be a significant amount of autographs here. Now, you might argue that the autographs from Antwerp are a little bit more desirable. That's pretty much up for debate in my opinion. They look almost the exact same in a lot of circumstances, but I could definitely see that argument to be made here. Now, as much as I do like the data I have provided, it's very hard to get a read on the Antwerp here, because we're talking about Antwerp pre-sale. Obviously, there is so many factors that are up for debate that we can really only compare it to Stockholm here, and that's even a rough comparison as well, considering that we don't have a lot of data for a lot of these Antwerp stickers. I didn't go with the Antwerp autographs, not because I didn't want to do it, but because there was literally autographs that had 0 listed on the market, and that creates such an imbalance between the actual price that it's worth and the actual price that it's listed onto the Steam community market, which makes the data, in my opinion, useless. Now, what I've gone ahead and done and labeled this into 3 separate sections. On the bottom in this cyanish color, this is investments that have less than a 50% return. You'll notice that these ones generally aren't going to be greatest investments because there's just not a lot of people opening them up, and that's for a good reason. Why would you open this up when it has such a poor return on opening? We've seen this with like the esports 2013 case, which generally hasn't increased in price significantly and only has a little bit because of the super low supply on it. When we're talking about the Stockholm capsules here, these 2 autographs, there's a large supply and there's not very much demand. After that, we've got this pinkish purplish section. This is what I would say is your resting area. This is where most of the capsules and cases are going to be ending up that are pretty decent investments. Now, obviously nothing in this section is guaranteed, but I'd say this is probably a decent section to look for if you're trying to get kind of a confirmation bias that you've got a decent investment here. It's not necessarily going to be a good factor to invest in, but it's kind of like not a bad factor, if you understand what I'm saying here. After that, then we've obviously got the good factor, which is that green section at the top. It's quite small because not many investments are landing into it, but that's where we've got the Stockholm Contenders and the Antwerp Challengers at this point. Now, we're going to get to that in just a second here, but these are 65% plus. Now, you can see that these are probably going to be really good investments, provided there is a lot of demand for it. This is where you could find a decent amount of unique investments hopping in there, just because there's not too much demand for actually opening them up, but sometimes you'll find that these investments kind of slip down into the category we just talked about in that pinkish purplish range as more people start to unbox them, which makes sense. Now, judging by everything we talked about today, obviously we're not going to be talking about investing into the Antwerp Challengers capsule, but I think investing into the Stockholm Contenders capsule definitely offers up a little bit of opportunity here, especially over the other ones. Now, I've been investing into the Contenders capsule for a little bit here because I've noticed, at least in my opinion, it has a higher potential to grow than the other ones, in my opinion. It does have a lower supply. It's kind of the middle between the Challengers and the Legends, and it's also got a pretty decent amount of demand while holding some pretty decent teams. We've got Copenhagen Flames and Tropic, a lot of other desirable teams, but there's not an oversupply of it like we're seeing with the Stockholm Legends. Now, obviously, I am invested into that as well, so take it at what you wish, but as always, guys, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.